Alrighty, fanboys and fangirls, today's episode we're going to talk all about the Pixel 6a. I'm going to give my reaction and thoughts to the product, and then we're going to address all this conversations and things that people have been having and complaints all about the phone and why I think a lot of them are really ridiculous, but also there are some very valid complaints. Now, normally when I do videos like this, I am bound to piss somebody off, so for this video, I am preparing right away. So it is 11:08 in the morning, and thank God for Beatbox. So the first story, the main story, and really the only thing we're going to talk about in today's episode is the Pixel 6a. Now, as you guys know, the Pixel 6a has been on this channel. I've been talking about it in the rumors, the renders, the leaks, everything. And I remember distinctly saying that the Pixel 6a, in my opinion, was going to be a well-deserved upgrade for anybody looking to get something along the lines of a nice kind of premium mid-range. And when they unveiled it at, I believe, Google I/O, it honestly looked pretty solid and it looked really, really cool. Now, of course, they did debut some Pixel Buds, which I am actually considering going in that route and reviewing Pixel Buds. Let me comment down below if you think I should. But focusing on the phone for today's episode, honestly, from everything that we've seen and to now, I gotta tell you, we'll address the controversies and all the complaints in just a moment. But on the surface, I am actually really impressed with this device. Not only does it have a very decent, solidly built phone, but it also has a very good, solid camera setup. It also has the design of the Pixel 6 with a few different changes. Now, I do believe there is no headphone jack, which I think is a negative, but considering this is the trend that they've been doing, I guess it's safe to say it's kind of annoying. But with that all being said, I am actually very impressed with everything that's in the phone, and the biggest thing is the Tensor Chip inside of the 6a. Now, this is a route that Google's probably going to be taking, where once they get ready to unveil the Tensor 2 chip, that will be in the Pixel 7 and 7 Pro, and then the 6a will just get the last year's model, which will still, of course, get software support, optimization, etc., etc. But the thing that really impressed me the most about this phone is mostly the deal package for $449. Now, a lot of people would argue that $449 is expensive, but in my world, in my area, I think that that's actually a very fair price, especially considering that it's a Pixel device and you're pretty much getting the stock Android-like experience, and you really can't beat that price and the quality that Google gives you. So overall, the device itself, I'm actually very impressed and a huge fan of. Now, let's get to all those complaints. So, if you guys haven't read the threads by now, or if you haven't seen by now, there are a lot of people, and I don't understand where these criticisms are coming from, and I don't understand why they're coming up now, but for some reason, there are a lot of people very disappointed in this phone, and a lot of them are making some very, very strange claims and are actually very upset. Now listen, there are real criticisms here to take accountability for. We will discuss the real criticisms and the ones that sound so ridiculous in just a moment. So if I'm about to piss you off, and if I'm about to say something that you don't like, just know ahead of time, I don't care. At the end of the day, my job is to report what is being said, my job is to report the news and give my opinion. And just like life, you do not have to agree with it. So now that I put that disclaimer out there, let's start with the real criticisms. The biggest criticisms that do hold a little bit of weight, and I think are some things that are actually worth noting, is number one. The biggest area that we've heard is still the overheating problem. This has plagued the Google phones for such a long time, and I honestly don't know why Google hasn't addressed this factor in a bit, because I understand that their Tensor chip is supposed to be so optimized that it can actually lower and throttle its performance to reduce the heat. But here's the thing, look at Samsung, look at Apple. Apple, because their A-series chip are just so advanced, they're just really ahead of everybody. It has an onboard cooling system that's built into the chip with heat management, so it doesn't need external cooling, although I would argue nowadays it probably could, but Apple should really opt to do that. Then you look at the Samsung phones, and Samsung is the only one that I can think of that has a great cooling system built right into the phone. It has thermal cooling, it has the thermal paste, it has the heat sink inside. It has so much hardware cooling the phone that the S22 Ultra is almost like a mini kind of computer. Well, every phone is like a computer, but this thing takes it to another level. So Samsung, at least that I know, has invested in an actual cooling system rather than relying on the CPU's onboard heat management. Now, you take a look at Google, they don't really have. So I honestly would be cool if they focused on the heat aspect of it, the cooling aspect, and put a little bit of time into that. That's just my opinion. Now, let's talk about the other criticism that actually holds some weight. The removal of the headphone jack. Now listen, I understand we're in 2022. I get the fact that they're going all in on wireless, and honestly, it's been like this for so many years now. But listen, one of the biggest staples of the A series was the headphone jack at such a nice price. And I feel that removing it just makes it like every other phone. So getting rid of that, to me, is a loss of a feature, or not a feature, or at least a loss of a versatile feature, I would say, to add more things to do. So those are the only two arguments that I have found in this whole little saga that holds some weight. Now let's get to the really ridiculous ones. Number one, the biggest criticism is the performance of the display. Apparently, it is now a crime to have a 60 Hz display panel, and if it's priced at $449, it's an even bigger crime. Listen, you guys realize that the iPhone 13s, the iPhone 12s, Samsung, well, okay, no, not Samsung, excuse me, but mostly, you know what, let's just go with Apple. They are selling an iPhone 13 and 13 mini with a 60 Hz display for $699 and $799. This is a mid-range phone, and you're pissed off that it has a 60 Hz display and the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro have 120 Hz? What were you expecting? Now I understand that in that price range, it would make a lot of sense to go 90 Hz. But after seeing the display with users actually using it and actually interacting with it, why is there even a complaint here? I didn't hear this much complaints with the iPhone. My idea is, if you're going to come in at Google and only Google with all these criticisms, you better carry that same energy to Apple. And mind you guys, I am an iPhone user. I don't have a Pixel device. I have a Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Plus with a 60 Hz display, and honestly, I'm not gaining anything here by saying this. I could go all in on Apple or whatever. So when I say this to you, I'm here to tell you, as long as it works and it does the job and it's such at a nice price point, I don't get what all the criticism's about. What, did you want it to be $399? Listen, every year things have to increase. So now we're at that $449 price point, it's $50 more. What else were you expecting? And the next most ridiculous claim that I have seen from everybody, the most ridiculous thing, is the fact that people think that this phone is a flagship-like phone. Okay, first of all, while it does have the Tensor Chip, it is nowhere near the word flagship. If anything, this is in that caliber of premium mid-range. You see, the market has changed over the last few years. We have phones that are your standard mid-range, your average mid-range, and then your premium mid-range. And a lot of people levitate towards those premium mid-ranges if they can't afford the flagship. This phone falls into that category. I don't understand where this conception came that it was a flagship-like experience. I understand that it has the qualities of a flagship, it has the capabilities, but at the end of the day, no matter what you say, no matter how you position it, the Pixel 6a, along with all the A series, will always be and forever be classified as a mid-range, and in this case, a premium mid-range. So to those of you that are just continuing to trash this phone because it didn't live up to your expectations, to those people that have actually not owned the phone but just want to continue adding on to this, you're not helping. You're not helping the situation. You know how you can help? Here are two things you can do. Number one, buy the phone. Actually buy the phone and use the phone and then give your criticisms. That's number one. And number two, most importantly, stop blaming Team Pixel members for your expectations. Listen, I have my differences with Team Pixel. I'm not a big fan of that organization, period, as much as I'm even a big fan of Samsung Knights in general. I think Team Pixel is just a ridiculous name given to a bunch of fans that are just basically one big friend group that benefit from everybody. Listen, I'm not here to trash anybody. If you're a part of Team Pixel and you worked your butt off, you deserve it. I know one person that's still not in Team Pixel, and I'm gonna keep vouching for him to get into Team Pixel because he deserves it. Aloha Android, aka Tito. If you're watching this, you deserve to be in Team Pixel than half of the other people. For Christ's sake, they gave an audio reviewer a Pixel and he doesn't even review phones. So that should tell you all you need to know. But here's what I'm trying to say. Don't blame them because you got fooled, or don't blame them because they say things to keep getting free stuff, or don't even blame them because they gave a review. You need to be the person buying the phone. You need to be the person to lower your expectations, but most of all, stop looking for a way to just blame people. Even though I have my differences with them, they shouldn't be your number one source of information. Your number one source of information should be you actually going and seeing the phone, using it, and buying it. So, to wrap up this crazy video, because I know for a fact people are going to get pissed off, I just don't care. But at the end of the day, to those that have valid complaints that are using the phone, that is something that will need to be addressed. But to everyone else that are just adding on to this, do everybody a favor. Buy the phone, use it, then give your complaints. Don't start giving criticism just because you can. Because at the end of the day, you're not adding anything to the solution. So that's what I think of that. Now, if you'll excuse me before we end this video, I'm gonna chug the rest of this beatbox because the comment section is probably gonna get blown up in a little while, so time to prepare myself. Have a good day, everyone. Take care, stay safe, like, comment, subscribe, and peace!